Hello friends, today we'll talk about the fares. Now fares are further divided into two types, normal fares and special fares. These normal fares are further divided into airline fares and second one is ITA fares. The second name which we use for the ITA fares are YY fares. YY fares means all airline fares. And both these fares are further divided into two categories, primary fares and secondary fares. Now I'll explain you each and everything about these fares. Normal fares. Fares which do not have any restrictions are called as normal fares. While considering the normal fares, following conditions should be keep in mind. Very first, number of stopover and transfers in the routing, seasonal application, day of week period application, and the last one is flight application. There are two types of normal fares, airline fares and ITA fares. The second name which we use for the ITA fares is YY fares. YY means all airline fares. Now I'll try to make you understand through fare sheet. Now here we have the fare sheet for Bangkok to Moscow. Now these fares are from Bangkok to Moscow. Now all these fares are normal fares. Now first we have Y class fare. Y class means economy class fare. Second one is C class fare. C means business class and the F means first class. Now these fares are given in the local currency, means Bangkok is in Thailand, Thailand currency is Thai baht, means these fares are given in Thai baht. Next is fares given in the nuke value. Now these boxes are for carrier code box. Now we have rule numbers and the global indicator, along with this we are having the MPM, maximum permitted mileage. Special fares. Special fares are highly discounted fare and its fare basis code has more than one digit, such as YLXEE4M. For the special fares, we have to satisfy following conditions such as application, seasonality, minimum stay, maximum stay, stopover and transport. Now I will show you the special fares in the fare sheet. Now here we have the fares from Delhi to Algiers. Now here the Delhi is a headline city and the Algiers is a sideline city. Now very first three fares are the normal fares, and as we already know that the normal fares are always having the one digit code. Now here these highlighted fares are special fares. I only highlighted it to make you understand about these fares. Now here all these fares are special fares Now again we have the fares in the local currency means Indian rupee. Now nuke value, carrier code box, rule number, global indicator and the MPF. Now here we have the fare basis code YLXEE4M. What does it mean? Now I'll try to make you understand in this blackboard. Now here we have the fare basis code YLXEE4M. Very first digit stand for class code. In airline industry we have three classes. First class, second is business class, and the last one is economy class. For the first class generally we use the code F. For the business class we use the code C, and for the economy class we generally use the code Y. Next we'll talk about this code. This is Seasonality Code. In travel trade we have three seasons. Very first is high or peak season. Second one is shoulder season. And the third one is low or basic season. For high or peak season we use the code H. For shoulder season we use the code K. And for low or basic season we use the code L. Next, we have this weekdays, or weekend code. For the weekdays we use the code X, and for weekend we use the code W. Now here we have type of special fare. These special fares are further divided into four categories. Very first is late booking excursion fare, second one is advance purchase excursion fare, the third one is purchase excursion fares, and the fourth one is excursion fares. For late booking excursion fare, we use the code IS. For advance purchase excursion fares, we uses the code AB or AP. For purchase excursion fares, we use the code PX, and for excursion fares, we use the code EE. Now we'll talk about the last code. The last one is the validity code. Here in this fare basis code we have 4M. 4M means this particular special fare is valid for 4 months. If I write down here 6, that means this particular fare is valid for 6 months. If any special fare is valid for days, then here the code will be like this. Only the 47 means this particular special fare is valid only for 47 days. Here along with the 47 will not write down the D code. We'll write down like this one. Airline fares. If in the carrier code box airline code is given, that means these fares are airline fares. Now I'll show you in the fare sheet. Now here we have the fares from New York to Frankfurt, and this one is the carrier code box. And what the rule says, if in the carrier code box airline code is given, that means these fares are airline fares. So we have to consider, when airline fares are given, then obviously we have to consider the airline fares. Now from New York to Frankfurt we have AC means Air Canada fares, and then next is SQ means Singapore Airlines fares. If both airlines and ITA fares are given, in that case first priority we have to give to the airline fares. When choosing a fare from the origin to the destination, and there are list of fares that vary by carrier, you need to identify the significant or predominant carrier. If the significant carrier has no fare of its own, then we can use the ITA fares. These airline fares are further divided into primary normal fares and secondary normal fares. ITA fares. ITA fares are also called as YY fares. YY fares means all airline fares. Now I'll show you in the fare sheet. Now here we have the fares from Bangkok to Moscow. Now all these fares are ITA fares, and now the question arises that how we have identified these fares are ITA fares, because in the carrier code box no airline code is given, and when no airline code is given, that means these fares are ITA fares. These fares, ITA fares, are further divided into primary normal fares and secondary normal fares. Primary normal fares. Primary normal fares are also called as unstated normal fares. Now I'll show you in the fare sheet. Now here we have the fares from Karachi to Dubai, and these fares are primary normal fares. Now the question arises that how we have identified that these fares are primary fares. If we have only the class code, or along with the class code one code is used, that means these fares are primary fares. For the fare basis code which are used for these fares are F or F1 or P or P1 for first class fares, C or C1 or J or J1 for the business class fares, Y or Y1 or S or S1 for economy class fares. These fare basis code may be accompanied by seasonal variation code such as H for high season, L for low season. Primary normal fares permit unlimited stopovers and transfers. Secondary normal fares. Secondary normal fares are also called as restricted normal fares or Y2 fares. Fare basis code which are used for these fares are, now first I will show you in the fare sheet. Now these fares are secondary fares, and the fare basis code which are used for these fares are F2 P2 for first class restricted fares, J2 C2 or C3 for business class restricted fare, Y2 S2 or Y11 for economy class restricted fares. Now here along with the class code 2 code is given, that means these two fares are secondary fares and rest of these fares are primary fares. What does that mean? If along with the class code 2, 3, 11 code is given, that means alphabet is written, that means these fares are secondary fares. These fares have stopover and transfer conditions, and because of these conditions secondary normal fares are cheaper than primary normal fares. Next is how to identify one-way or RT fares in fare sheet. Now here we have the fares from Bangkok to Istanbul. First we have Y class fares, C class fare and F class fares. Now if any fare is given in the lighter shade, now very first this fare is, if any fare is given in the lighter shade, that means that fare is a one-way fare. And if it's given in the darker shade, that means it's a return fare. When there is no published RT fare, for example, if there is no published RT fare, then double the one-way fare to obtain the round trip fares.